I know.
Judy's in France.
Ooh la la.
Oh, that's why she's not in.
All right, should we get started? I guess everyone's here.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Calling to order is 7:02 p.m. Did everyone have a chance to approve no, we're going to approve the agenda. Did everyone have a chance to review the agenda?
I can make a motion to approve the agenda.
Well, thank you. All in favor?
Oh, no, we have to second it. I'll second.
What will we do with that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Or no? All right, we have an agenda. Are there any announcements from staff or commissioners or council liaisons at this time?
Just letting everyone know that at tomorrow's council meeting, we'll be talking about the new appointments to the commission. So you might want to take a look at tomorrow night's agenda, and council will be approving the applicants.
Great, thank you. And now is the time for public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Moving on to the next item, which is consent calendar. Can we, so I'm just going to read this. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial and require no discussion. We're expected to have unanimous support. Can we approve the consent calendar?
I think we just need to approve the minutes.
Approve the minutes?
Yeah, so why don't we, I don't see anything wrong with the minutes, so if no one sees anything wrong with them, I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have minutes. Approved. Wow, we're going through this quick. Next up, informational items.
Right, so we'll have a presentation this evening from the Health and Human Services Agency, Carrie Colbert and Chris Buckley, right there. And check and see if you might.
Sit or stand?
Sit.
Okay.
I do.
I'll just start so you guys can get out of here. My name is Chris Bulkley. I'm a volunteer in the local behavioral health board for District 4, which is now Sheila Allen's district out of Davis. Before that, I was in the DA's office for over 30 years. I retired in December, and I oversaw our special court programs, our diversion programs. We've had both for about 12 years now, starting in 2013. Next slide. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Carrie Covert. I'm the Behavioral Health Bridge Housing Manager at Yolo County.
Okay. So we are going after cohort 5 of the Prop 47 grant. That is money that is saved due to decarceration from Prop 47. And it goes back into the community in the form of grants, part of it at least. Does that work better?
Yes.
Okay. Usually people have a hard time hearing me being a loud lawyer. So the Board of State and Community Corrections manages the grant for the state. And the purpose is to expand services for people with a substance use disorder, mental illness, or co-occurring disorder, but also has a diversion component to it. The target population out of the grant is individuals who have been arrested, charged, or convicted in basically the criminal justice system that have an underlying mental health disorder or substance use disorder. And that can be discovered after the arrest. So it can actually be at any point in the continuum You can find out about that and refer them for services. The period for the service is going to start January 1st. The grant itself is due June 23rd. And one of the aspects of the grant, or 15% of the grant value, is community outreach. And so we're looking for input from the community as to what to include in the grant. Next slide. These are the grant priorities by BSEC. They don't all have to be included in the grant proposal. What we've done in the past with cohort 1 and cohort 3 is we have had case management, we've had some resources for housing. For cohort 1, the individuals in it that were successful getting case management services for about 18 months. For cohort 3, which we're currently in the middle of right now, out of the 70 referrals, 74% of those individuals were unhoused, making it a very challenging population to provide services for. We have a restorative justice diversion program, so we can put people into that component for their criminal cases. And in the last cohort, we did take referrals from the community as long as they had a conviction or engagement with law enforcement in the last 3 years. So they didn't have to actually have a pending case. They had to have a history that we could document. Next slide. This current grant is $8 million. There's two size grants, a small grant for $2 million and a larger one for $8 million. The county is going after the $8 million one. We have a number of county partners that are listed there. The community-based organization that will be providing services has not been identified. The one that is currently providing them is Communicare Olay, which I suspect everyone here is familiar with. 70% of the grant will be targeted towards community-based organizations. 50% is mandated to go to community-based organizations. You can't put it into county or city employees. You get additional points if you get up to 70%. And so that's our goal. 5% has to be set aside for an evaluation, and the other 25% can go to county resources, or we can expand the percentage for community-based organizations. This is our engagement plan. Again, 15% of the grant is how we've engaged the community and our local advisory committee. So we want to have a diverse local advisory committee and also go to different places and do the community engagement. I volunteered to do this. So I've been to Winters, I've been to West Sacramento and Woodland, doing different types of engagements. The last one we did was Thursday. We went to Walter's House, which is a residential drug treatment program, and we had a listening session with individuals going through treatment. What are the barriers for you getting into treatment, and what are your barriers when you complete, to get more feedback. Let's see. Next slide. These are our current diversion programs. I really don't want to go into a lot of detail since with the passage of Prop 36, some of them have been put on hold by the elected DA, not wanting to refer people to them until we got a Prop 36 mandated treatment program up and going. We've identified 3 service gaps, one of which is we're trying to address with the current cohort, the Prop 36 mandated treatment, and then mental health diversion support for individuals who are incompetent to stand trial for misdemeanor offenses. And this grant will be targeting the Prop 36 mandated treatment with some wiggle room to put other people in it depending on the demand from the Prop 36. Next slide. If you have comments or suggestions, that's our email address, so we'll go to members of the county that are designing the grant for to get feedback. Any questions on this?
A lot of information.
Yes.
I don't know if I missed it. Is this,
Actually, I think we need to go to public
Oh,
comment. We need to go to public comment first.
Oh.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, open it for discussion and questions.
I don't know if I missed it. If this was just for adult services or
Adult
juvenile?
services. There is an ability to do a grant for juvenile services, but that's not something that the county is targeting at this point. I'm not sure we have a sufficient demand in the county for that. Well, thank you for letting us put this on our list of engagements.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I was, what are the, I saw that there was like the different services that you're also able to provide. Have you, which ones have you explored? Like workforce development is one that I'm thinking of.
What we did in cohort 1 is that for people to be successful, we had to deal with the addiction or mental health, the core career disorder. We also had to find them stable housing. In order to have stable housing, you have to have an income. And so it was finding employment, finding housing, so at the end of that engagement in the program, they had housing, they had a job, or they could be on SSI with income to pay for the housing, which is why it took so long. The treatment part may be the easy part, but it's all the other aspects of it that lead to the stability of that person so that they don't come back and don't go back into homelessness. I will say I was at a District Intervention Court graduation last fall, and a woman stepped forward, and she was the partner for the gentleman that was graduating. And she goes, "Ms. Volk, I don't think you remember me, but 5 years ago, I graduated from Steps to Success, and I've been clean for over 5 years now, in-house." And so when we look at these programs, it's a very challenging population. We have some success, we have probably a lot of failure in initial referrals who don't engage. But those individuals that have been clean and housed for that period of time, that makes it all worthwhile for what we're doing with this.
I have another question. It's a very general question. I'm
Yes.
just curious. There was a part there that you talked about the restorative justice.
Yes.
Can you just tell us a little
In
bit more about that?
2013, DA's office initiated a pilot program. It was basically targeting downtown Davis with all the alcohol-related issues. You remember back then, Davis was a real party scene, drawing people from all over the place downtown, with a lot of the restaurants turning nightclubs and bars. And there's a big alcohol problem downtown. And so the DA wanted to start a project using restorative justice to address those types of offenses, because there were a lot of complaints that nothing was happening. So that program got started. First conference was June 3rd, 2013. So we've had a restorative justice program. It's now the Restorative Justice Partnership that got renamed. Having the word court in it, some people objected to that for the restorative justice program. We've expanded that program over the years. We got grants to provide social services for some people that were homeless. So our first grant, we were targeting a homeless population with a social worker. The current iteration now has a social worker, behavioral health case manager, and social service assistant. We're trying to provide those services for that diversion population. One of the goals we're trying to look at, everyone measures your program by recidivism, but we're using a self-sufficiency matrix to see if we've improved the stability of the individuals going through the diversion program, and if there's a correlation between improved stability, housing, employment, and recidivism. So is it worth putting the time and effort to try and do all the stability stuff? So we're still doing that grant right now. For the mental health court, we had about 30 people in it. When I retired, I believe we had like 28 individuals that were full service partners at the highest level of mental health services from the county in the RJP program, getting case managed through the county. That population generally didn't have the insight to participate in mental health court. And so a lot of individuals with felonies in that program. And our goal was to get 10% of our felony charging into the RJP diversion program, which was the second cohort of it, which we achieved by year 3 of that. So we're actually in our third cohort with the JAG grant. Hopefully that was we're always looking for volunteers, as DA's was for restorative justice, because that's basically community members sitting down with a facilitator going through the 3 steps of restorative justice in a conference. So if any of you want something else to do, you can contact the DA's office. They're always looking for volunteers. When my wife retires, the 2 of us will be volunteering for that, although I'm not sure they'll want us in the same conference. Any other questions? Or
I know sometimes it's hard to forecast, but because this is kind of county funds. Can you foresee what impact this would have on residents of Davis?
We do get a number of individuals from Davis that participate in it. I couldn't tell you the numbers off the top of my head. I do know that a number of individuals back in the community, Davis Community Meals has contacted me because they've had someone, a client, but often those individuals may have a criminal case, they have a warrant because they didn't show up in court, and so then we have to get them connected with an attorney, get them on calendar, recall the warrant, and try and get them engaged in services. Had some success, some failure with that, but I can't give you the numbers from Davis.
I can tell you that our outreach teams are aware of the program, and in the last iteration, the outreach teams were making referrals to the county for people that they thought would be good candidates. So that's the role that our CBOs and our outreach teams play, is how do we refer people to try to get them into the program that's available.
And one of the challenges for the referral from the outreach teams is we then have to get case workers from Communicare to link up with individuals that sometimes don't have a phone, that aren't stable, so it's kind of going out looking for people, which can be very challenging and time consuming, which is another reason why it's hard to get a lot of these individuals that are chronically homeless through these programs.
I have a couple questions. As part of the grant application, are you required to provide any targets around number of individuals total in the whole county that you would be working with?
We are. We would have a target number. I don't know what the number is going to be for this since I'm not involved in writing it this time. I will say that cohort 3, I went for it and I wrote a grant. I got $1 million for the IST population, misdemeanor incompetency on trial. And the budget numbers that I got from the county for the FSP costs and looking at another diversion program for clinician and a case manager, I came up with a budget. I said we'd serve 8 to 10 people. We had a big inflation problem right after we got it, or it was during that part. And then Medi-Cal billing changed. And by the time we got some of the contract for it, they'd only offer services for 4 people. I said 8 to 10. And so I tried to get the SEC to give the authorization to contract for what I had. I got a wishy-washy answer, so we didn't contract for that. I will say if the city wants to go after one of these grants, I'd say a small grant, because right now they set aside $40 million for this. If you look back at all the previous cohorts, they never used all the money for the small grants. They always rolled it over into the big grants. And so if you met the minimum threshold for a small grant, you'd get it, whereas the large grants are much more competitive. That might be an option in the future. How that would be a diversion program, or there's ways to possibly do that.
Do you know of other Yolo County cities that are applying for cohort 5 funding?
No, I believe that only the county is. Probation Department got one of the smaller grants in cohort 4. And again, I believe they're putting people post-conviction into Cache Creek for residential treatment or housing of some kind.
Because of the restrictions on the population, the city hasn't applied for the grant. And that's why we generally the kind of would apply, because they provide the services.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's complex and it's very specific target population with very specific services.
Like I said, one of the major challenges we're having in cohort 3 is the housing component. Just finding temporary housing. They were putting people in motel rooms, but that's very expensive. And
Just this past quarter in cohort 3, we just had our local advisory committee where they were going over some of the data, and just for 1 quarter of housing for this population, it was close to $250,000. That's for 3 months.
my idea had been for my smaller one to use room and boards or board and cares, since there's much more economically feasible than a motel room, plus there's some food involved in that too.
But then you come across there's not enough in the county.
Not
There's
in
not
the
enough
county.
in Yolo County, so then you're looking at how do you get your clients, Yolo County residents, transported to another county and then back for services. And so there's definitely barriers in multiple aspects of this program.
that one of the Davis challenges is people don't want to leave Davis. There's more affordable housing in other cities, but they want to stay in Davis, which makes it much more challenging to find permanent housing. Some people have resisted, at least in the past.
I think my last question, I noticed there's 5% of the budget set aside for program evaluation. It sounds like you applied for funding in cohort 1 and cohort 3 previously and were awarded.
Counties applied for funding in each one of the cohorts. We didn't get funded in cohort 2, and that was a grant that was targeting particularly a homeless population. The first one was broader. The second one was focusing on unhoused. Third one, we got 2 grants funded. Probation was funded for a small grant, cohort 4, this is cohort 5. So we're hoping to get it funded. We'll see how that goes. You never know. I think a lot of counties are looking for ways to find income now, as
Yeah,
opposed to the last one, because it's much more difficult.
yeah. Was there 5% of the budget for cohort 3 set aside for program evaluation?
All of the grants required setting aside 5% for the local evaluation plan and final evaluation.
Yeah. Do you happen to remember any of the major outcomes or findings from the evaluation in cohort 3? No, it's slightly different.
Cohort 3 is still ongoing. It'll
Okay.
be funded through, I think, is it
March 1st
March?
of 2026 is when services will end, and then we have 3 more months through June 30th of 2026 to finalize the final local evaluation.
For cohort 1, the thing that really caught my eyes when we were designing it, we thought we'd have services for maybe up to a year. And the average for success was about 18 months. And so we had criminal cases dragging through the courts longer to get to the point where individuals could graduate and get their dismissals. Partway through the grant, we got a grant modification to do some low-level felony offenses also. To try and expand who we're putting into that. We saw a treatment need and looking at the severity of the case. We were starting to divert some felonies, and so we're trying to have a different off-ramp for those cases.
I can tell you with the BSCC grants, part of the requirement is the local evaluation, but part of the agreement of getting the funds is that evaluation is posted on the BSCC website, so you could go back and look at cohort 1's data, and for any county that has received funding.
Cool, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah. And then 15% of the grading for the grants was our community outreach. So thank you for taking the time to let us do this, as we're going to mention being here. It's not so much how you're going to do your grant, but who you engage, and certainly in different backgrounds, diversity, and all that. I was at the Fighting Fentanyl event in West Sacramento on Saturday, recruiting a local advisory committee member who was active in that, whose son had died of a fentanyl overdose. The fentanyl's, it's in all the different types of drugs. People may be getting methamphetamine, and there's fentanyl in there in the overdose. It's in marijuana, it's in cocaine. I had a good friend of mine, a high school friend of his, died this year from a fentanyl overdose. And he was dabbling with cocaine. So it's kind of one of those different things to do. The music was too loud for me, though. I'm getting old. Any other questions, or?
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 7, we have 2025 subcommittee report about community navigator initiative, landscape assessment, with an update from Chris and Judy.
Let me pull up my notes.
Is that supposed to say Judy?
I think it's
Yeah.
both Judy's, yeah.
Yeah.
The Judys?
Yes.
Yeah, we've been continuing to conduct interviews. We pretty much finalized all of our organizational interviews, except maybe, Donna mentioned maybe we could also interview Un Cafecito, because they're doing some navigation service, providing some navigation services as well. We've spoken to 6 organizations, And yeah, we have transcripts. We've started discussing analysis. We're kind of finished with the interview phase, except for Cafecito, and are transitioning to kind of analysis and organizing people's responses, organizing their understanding of need with the data, and then, yeah, we'll be turning that into a report, which we'll present at the next month's Social Services Commission meeting. Yeah, so we've done 6 on the record, and yeah, we're going to do one more. I need to check with Judy if she's spoken with Communicare yet. I'm not sure if she has. I know she reached out to them, but so 6, possibly 7 that we've spoken to already. Yeah, so we're moving on to analysis and writing a report. Any questions or input?
Public comment? Seeing none, we're gonna get an update about Davis Community Meals.
So I'm excited to kick off our season of reports about grant recipients for CDBG funds. And so I had the pleasure of meeting with Tracy Fodder, the executive director from Davis Community Meals and Housing recently. So next slide is some of the staff members there. And so they run a lean organization with about 7 or 8 staff members that do incredible work serving hundreds of our local citizens. Next slide. So particularly in how it affects our commission is that we had approved 2 grant requests of our last round of CDBG funds. And so that $41,000 went to 3% of their overall budget. And it was really to support the outreach activities that they are doing for the unhoused individuals in our community to offer support services at their resource center at Paul's Place, which provides basic needs to individuals. And so over the last 2 years, they've been able to serve upwards of 700 people, bring in equal number of volunteers, offering an incredible amount of volunteer hours in addition to the staffing that they have. And they've been able to grow their staffing within those 2 years. Next slide. So to give an idea of what they do, there are 4 major buckets of programming that they offer. One, at Paul's Place, which is located at 1111 H Street. They have a resource center that operates during part of the day. They have an emergency shelter space, as well as a floor of transitional housing and a floor of permanent supportive housing. And I'll give a little more detail in a moment. They also have permanent housing available at Cesar Chavez Plaza and Creekside Apartments. They do street outreach, which makes sense that they were one of the individuals, groups that we had had a conversation with in terms of the Navigators program. And they also offer meals, which is, so I highlighted the Paul's Place and Meals program because that's what the CDBG funds that we approved go towards. So in a nutshell, Paul's Place is a wonderful resource for our community. The Resource Center, if I remember correctly, operates from 9 to 2? 8 to 2 every day?
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. And it's an opportunity for community members to come in for basic needs. And so there are, there's food and meals, there's showers available, laundry, and as well as access to things like, phones and having a mail address. They also have resource referrals to so many different organizations and services. The particular case managers are incredibly knowledgeable about the individuals that come to their door, as well as the opportunities that are available in the community and being able to put those 2 together. So whether it has to do with support for substance recovery, jobs and earning income, getting support for mental health services, even, care for, haircuts, animal care, all sorts of things are available. They want to make sure it is a welcoming resource in the community, and so they're incredibly thoughtful about having a low barrier for entry. But they also want to hold a high standard of it being a very safe place for the community members that are there. And so they juggle that balance very, very well to make sure that people feel welcomed and also feel safe while they're there. I noticed that they had a bunk area for emergency shelter, and then on the second or third floor, they had temporary housing, and so that's an opportunity for folks, individuals, to have the chance to live there between 18 to 24 months as they are working on everything from, earning enough income to secure permanent housing, to, have that community that's there. I'll have some pictures in a moment, but, it's individual living spaces, but this wonderful communal space, like, a TV, beautiful sunlight, like a pool table that they can hang and commune around. And so it's really an opportunity for them to have community and have support, with their plan to move towards permanent housing. On the floor above, so for pictures. So in the pictures here, just give some indication of this wonderfully inviting kitchen space that they can use. There's outdoor, recreation space and like a picnic area. There are, chairs to lounge in, and then in the upper left-hand corner, there's this incredibly large space for, shoes and clothing and resources. Let's see. And then, so on the top floor, they have 18 studio units. I think they're about 300 square feet, and there's also support on site to support those individuals. Okay. As far as the additional permanent housing, there is a location on Olive Drive, the Chavez Plaza, and they have certain criteria for income qualification as well as accessibility. They have multiple units, ADA accessibility, and again, it's this sense of community and supports. Creekside also offers a variety of units for individuals to provide stable housing in the community, as well as support services. In terms of street outreach, the staff are very knowledgeable, the volunteers that they have are very knowledgeable around collaboration, engagement, knowing needs, being able to refer to services, and really prioritizing the people that use their program. Also being in clear communication with local law enforcement, county services, and staff to provide those services. Next slide. For their meals program, they offer free meals year-round to seniors, low-income individuals, and homeless individuals and families. And that can happen every Tuesday and Thursday evening, as well as Saturday mornings. Everyone is welcome. They have certain activities around holidays, and it's really a mix of donations, purchased food from individuals, nonprofits, government agencies, in order to really make this happen. And again, that sheer number of volunteers who are able to support all of what they do. Next slide. So some of the accomplishments are that the Resource Center, for being open 8 to 2, Monday through Friday, they see about 165 individuals every day. And if you think about how much that's grown in the last 2 years since Paul's Place has grown, that's like a 4-fold increase of how many people that they're able to serve. They also, in December of 2024, they had opened up a space of their building for the cold weather shelter. I believe it's an opportunity for people to stay up to 2 weeks there, and it's something that has been so successful and a need that they've even been able to continue it into after the cold weather months. And it would be such a great opportunity if it could continue to be around year-round. As far as the cost to operate Paul's Place, it's about $700,000, and the fact that they're serving 165 people of a day, it's essentially $5 per person per day, and that's food and access to resources, and everything. And what I found was really lovely when I was there was that sense of community, that, you know, some people are hanging out and communing with each other. Other people, you know, were making meals and talking to their neighbors. And it really does seem like a warm, welcoming, and very thoughtful community. So if you want to learn more, the next slide is some contact information. I think it's like a ribbon cutting ceremony image, and information about how to learn more about the agency and location.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to visit Paul's Place last year.
Yes.
I had also a really good experience.
Thank you for visiting.
Thank you for having us. Any public comment? Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Yeah, just to thank you, Tracy, for all your work, and I mean, yeah, it's clearly the crown jewel of homeless services in Davis, and yeah, it's
Just
yeah.
in Davis.
In the world.
I like your
In the world.
I like your boundary, sense of boundary. Maybe one follow-up question. I mean, 165 people a day is an impressive number, and it's impressive that it's grown fourfold as well. Do you have any sense for, like, I don't know, the average types of engagements? Like, of those 165s, that like most people are coming and getting, you know, using the facility for food, or like what are the most common services used amongst that 165? Some are probably doing multiple, some are only going for one service. Any small and general pictures or comments on that?
Sure. I would say of the folks that come in, and we know that they're unique individuals because we write down the name of everyone that comes in. And I would say pretty much everybody's getting food or coffee or whatever's available in the kitchen. The showers are being used all day long. The washers and dryers are being used all day long. And a lot of folks will just come and hang out. They can socialize and connect with other folks. You know, get a chance to come in for some AC and things like that. So, but it's not really 165 people all at one time. So it's, you know, it's throughout the day. In terms of the folks that connect with our staff, you know, I would say, you know, Becky and Harmony are connecting with probably a couple dozen each. Sometimes for really small things, you know, like we have state food bags that we can hand out, or a bus pass, and sometimes it's more substantive, like getting someone an ID, doing a new intake, which is mostly our volunteers and our assisting staff, or it could be, you know, working on housing, you know, removing some of those barriers that folks are facing. Somebody is ready to get in for drug treatment, things like that, and obviously the counseling is happening all day long as well. I just want to clarify, Judy, you did a fantastic job. Lots of details. I love that. Thank you. I want to make sure folks understand $700,000 is for the whole building. We pay for a lot of the services for our permanent residents, et cetera. It's about $225,000 to run our resource center. So just the resource center services are about $5 per person per day. It's a phenomenal return on investment. And I think our cost for keeping the flex bed shelter open year round is also really, really good. It's not quite $5 per person per day, but it's quite reasonable for 6 p.m. to 8 a.m., dinner, breakfast, laundry, showers, all those things are available to folks that are using that service as well. Thank you for your support.
I was gonna ask, 700,000 seems really low for keeping all of the place running,
Right.
including like staffing and gas for the showers and everything.
And our utility bills alone, which is electricity, gas, water, et cetera, are $100,000 of that. So 1/7 of that is just utilities.
Yeah.
But yes, you know, I'm so proud because my staff does a phenomenal job. If you've never watched them work, they're incredible at, maintaining a safe environment with great boundaries. And this is due in part to my predecessor at a phenomenally low cost because of the way, and now having all these programs in one place. Harmony has 4 different jobs, Becky has 3 different jobs. Everybody just pitches in and takes care of what's needed. So it's the culture of the organization is, helping people, so we do what it takes. And so I'm very proud of that. And I hope that folks that are making funding decisions understand that they're getting a lot for their money when they're supporting our programs.
Not to mention the clients themselves volunteer, right?
Yeah, they do. And Paul's Place has been wonderful because of the structure and having permanent residents. We have a lot of folks who, from the 3 floors above the Resource Center, who come down, who help out. And now we have a program for folks that are using our Resource Center that are helping to clean up 8th Street every Friday morning. And those are our Resource Center folks. And actually, since that program started about 3 months ago, we have a couple of folks who've been instrumental and volunteering every week that are now starting to think about, maybe it's time for me to go clean a sewer, maybe it's time for me to think about transitional, maybe I can go on. In fact, we've already moved at least one of our Friday volunteers up to transitional. So it's one more step. And then with Dana's assistance, we got some funding for our peer support training and employment program, where we're going to take some of the residents at Paul's Place to start. Maybe eventually we'll move out to the other permanent housing, and have them do peer support specialist training and hopefully pass the state exam to get their certificate. And then we want to put them to work, supporting our community, maybe doing outreach. Well, definitely doing outreach. That's written into the contract. But there are a number of things that I think folks with that certification can do. And for us, most likely part-time and temporary, but then we can also help refer them out to organizations, community partners like Communicare and the county, et cetera, to provide more employment opportunities. So we're very excited about that, and it's all about building that community of support within the community of the folks that we're also serving.
While we have you, could I ask, what would you do if you had an extra 100,000 a year? Or, I mean, that doesn't have to be 100,000, but like a significant amount of money more? Like what are you putting that in? What do you see the needs as?
Funny, you should ask that, Chris, thank you. So right now, our top priority at Paul's Place is to be able to keep our flex bed shelter open year-round. So that would keep those 8 beds year-round, and we would no longer just do 4 months in the wintertime. I think that's awesome. And then there's been some discussion about opening the Resource Center during other hours. Our new Resource Center assistant is a peer support specialist certified. He's willing to do more hours. So I think within our community, we can find folks to help us keep that open just for basic resources. We wouldn't be doing referrals or case management, but maybe we could extend our hours or even open on maybe 1 weekend day, and maybe expand that at some point to 2. I think those things are more possible now. And so with $100,000, first thing I'll do is pay our utility bills. But if it's extra, I would look at those things. If money was not an issue, I think that's a really important question. I would love to do obviously more permanent supportive housing, but I also think that our transitional program is phenomenal. For some reason, transitional programs have kind of fallen out of favor with funders, but I think that the way we do it really gives folks, maybe it's not part of the Housing First model, but it probably should be, gives folks an opportunity to really stabilize before they're completely out on their own. And building that support network, getting some clean-ins over time, I think really helps a lot of folks be more successful when they move out of, our sphere. So I would love to do that. And our family program, we do serve 2 families, or we have served 2 families in transitional at the duplex next door to Paul's Place. And we'll soon be able to move a couple more families in there. I'd love to do more of that.
So just to reiterate, that last point was more expand number of transitional housing units.
Yes.
Yes.
If money was
If
the
money was there,
project, that would
blue
be,
sky,
that would
yeah.
be my next priority after kind of expanding a little bit of what we're already doing.
Okay.
I think
Cool.
that's fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Next item, fiscal year 2025, planning and long-range calendar.
We are halfway through the year, folks. I can't believe that we're halfway through the year, but we're halfway through the year. So there are more opportunities for those of you that have agencies that you're liaisoning to pick a month before the end of the year to come out and do a report. August, we've got scheduled for our recess. I just want to confirm that that's still where everybody wants to be. We're hoping again that in July, and I need to add this here, we'll get the update on our community navigator program. And I intend to come to you probably in September, early September, potentially July, with an update on our affordable home ownership program. We're working with our city attorney on updating some of the policy and language. We've got an appointment tomorrow, matter of fact. So we'll see what we can pull together by July. If not, we'll be coming to you in September with that. But are there any other requests or comments for the long range?
And I'm kind of a lame duck, but when is city council recessing?
Next month, July.
So maybe you guys should recess in July. But that's just I'm a lame duck, but that's why I thought that we should recess in August, because that's why I thought they would recess.
It's completely up to you guys. Because we can move all of these reports to August.
That's fine. I mean, I think it makes more sense to make a chair.
It usually depends on when everyone is available and when they're on vacation and so forth.
Yeah. I think I would prefer a switch as well.
That's fine.
Great. Okay,
I can switch it. I'll switch, so we'll make our recess July instead. It gives the navigators more time to pull information together.
We'll still work to have something shared in July. End of July. I mean, we won't be, I know, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, virtually, yeah.
okay.
What I was trying to confirm is, once council approves the new commissioners, I wanted to see when they started. So, if they start in July, so we could have them start in August and do some, what I can do is do an orientation for them in July. And then they can come to the first meeting in August.
Is it orientation like virtual or, I don't remember.
You know, I can't remember if we did it in person or something.
Virtual.
Yes, just submit for ease. Yeah. I sent everybody a bunch of materials, and then we did it virtually, so.
Okay.
Really quickly. She's got good notes. Okay, so next is our updates from our affordable housing program, and I thought I would provide some information. As of now, we have 42 people on our wait list for affordable housing, but we have noticed an uptick in interest in being notified of properties that become available in the program. So I know as of last week, she was processing 10 new applications for people that wanted to be on the wait list. What we're thinking is we've had a couple of new properties that came up for sale. One was on Verona Terrace and the other on Mahogany Drive. Those generated a lot of interest. And so we're seeing more people asking questions about the program, which has been really good for us. We still have 3 properties that are in the process of being sold. And again, as I mentioned, we've got 2 new properties that are up for sale, lots of interest. We've worked through, we've got one buyer for one of the properties on Mahogany, and then we've sent another potential buyer to the property on Verona Terrace, so we expect those to sell really quickly as well. As I mentioned, we're meeting with the attorneys tomorrow to go over the program guidelines for the program, to try to update those. We thought we'd give you a quick update on the Pacifico property. As you know, there are 4 buildings. 2 of the buildings are being rehabbed by the county. They're finalizing their architectural plan set. And once they have that, they're thinking of going out to bid to solicit a general contractor to do the rehab work. I think the bids will probably go out sometime in September. They are also working with the city because there's some pre-development work that needs to happen at the new buildings that impacts the entire property. So we'll be going out to bid to upgrade the striping for our ADA parking that's in the adjacent to the property, and making new trash enclosures. So that's happening. We are also down to 11 tenants in the 2 city buildings. So one of the city buildings is, we're going to vacate that one, we'll close that, and we'll only be operating in one of the buildings. In the last 2 months, we've had 2 clients that we've referred to assistance with adult protective services, because they're really not able to independently care for themselves. So one person has moved to a senior project in Woodland, and we're expecting that the other person will also be able to move to senior housing and get more services. So we're continuing to work to try and get that client base to the appropriate level of housing, so that we can eventually get the census down to 0. We also are looking at our fair housing program. We are contracting with an organization called Eden Housing. They are primarily in the Bay Area, but they have been moving into this area. They do fair housing work specifically. They go out and they do testing. They send folks out to different apartment complexes to test for, to see if people are being discriminated against based on their protected class. So they're going to contract with us to do that. And we're also talking to them about potentially doing a first-time home buyer program, because they do that as well. And we are contracting with a local attorney that's also going to be doing work with our landlords to update them on the new changes in fair housing, changes in rent and tenant rights. So he's going to be doing 4 workshops for our local landlord between now and June 30th of next year. So those are the updates for our affordable housing project. And then for social services and housing, we are closing out our 24-25 CDBG program grants. So everybody's got their information into us, and we're reimbursing for the final invoices. And as soon as they submit their invoices, we then send out their new contract for 25-26. So everybody is moving pretty quickly to kind of get ready for the next program year. We've also implemented 3 programs that are kind of new for the department. One, we're partnering with Economic Development to do a facade improvement program. Our Economic Development Department is, we've given them some CDBG funds to go out and work with small businesses, help them to get a loan or a grant, we're working to decide which, to help them to make facade improvements in exchange for job creation, because that's one of the requirements, is to create new jobs. So the facade improvement program is underway, and we've got the project with Echo Housing and Fair Housing, and we've also allocated some of our CDBG funds to the Parks Department, who's going to be working on their adaptive use park, which is exciting. We are filling our last outreach position. So now we will have 3 outreach positions with the city. Interviews are taking place tomorrow, and we should have a new person on board by no later than July 1. And we have been talking with the faith-based community about safe parking. The Davis United Methodist Church and Heart of Davis I received their permit to operate safe parking. And so they're trying to determine when they will start the safe parking program, but they have received their permit and they are going to get the training for their volunteers on Monday with an organization called Origins.
Can you restate the 2 names of the 2?
Oh, it's Davis
churches?
United Methodist Church and Heart of Davis is the nonprofit. So the church is where the location is going to be, and then Heart of Davis will be operating the program. So those are my updates for the department. Questions?
Any questions?
Well, actually, I don't know if I heard correctly. Did you say for the economic development program, SOD, S-O-D?
Facade. Facade.
Facade, okay.
Facade, yeah. And so CDBG likes to see you working with small businesses. And we're trying to look at different ways that we can kind of diversify what we're doing with our CDBG grant and economic development. Now we have an economic development manager. It made sense to kind of move into that area as well. So it's, we'll start off by working primarily in the Davis Manor neighborhood area, talking to business owners there. And really, it's just like it says, it's facade improvement. It's how do we make the frontage look better? How can we work with signage, that kind of thing. And at some point, if the funding is available, that also allows you to help out small business owners if they need to update equipment. So as long as it's permanently affixed, it can't be anything that they can take with them. But as long as it's permanently affixed, and a lot of times, like for grocery stores may need refrigeration, or some places need shelving that stays with the building. So that's something that we're looking at in the long term.
I remember that was the economic development work was part of the substantial amendment. That was like 613,000 that we were looking to reallocate. And so this is
Yes,
part,
that's
this
a
is
part
all
of that. Well, we're using some of the substantial amendment to kick it off,
Okay.
but then in 25, 26, it's going to be a regular part of the CDBG.
Okay. Yeah. And is there any other quick, brief update on that the rest of that 613, like the other? I know there was a lot of ideas that were presented back in February, I think, and I think it was things you were trying to spend quickly-ish. So yeah.
And most
how
of
did
it,
that go?
it went very well.
Yeah.
The contract for the training, that came out of that.
Okay.
The contract for Incafecito, that's the Promotores program, that came out of that as well. And we also did some work with DCMH. I think part of theirs was a peer support. The rest of it was larger allocations to the inclusive park, to economic development, and I think those were the major things that we were trying to get on.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
I think we don't have an audience.
I guess we have gone to the end of our agenda.
And I will change this date so that the next meeting will be in August.
August,
Uh,
I won't say it.
okay.
Not put the wrong date on record.
Let's see, I can tell you.
August
The
18th.
18th. It'll be the 18th.
August 18th. And the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Do the shortest meeting.
Yeah. A lot of
Gift,
commission.
your party gift.
Yeah.